Hi everybody, welcome back. This is part 2 of my journey through gaming with the Sega Genesis. If you haven't watched part 1, I would recommend going back and watching it. I'm not really going to keep us. Let's jump right in. If at any point you enjoy this, you find this fun, please feel free to leave me a like or leave me a comment. Also, a subscription would be very nice. It helps the channel out a great deal. So thanks, folks. We can't be talking about Sega Genesis if we're not talking about arcade action games and sort of the big kid games that came out for it, because the Genesis was for mature teenagers and adults, no kids allowed. Yeah, so Altered Beast was the original pack-in title. I'm not a fan of the arcade version, and by extension, I'm not really a huge fan of the Genesis version. Now, Golden Axe, on the other hand, that's kind of an evolution on the Altered Beast formula. I mean, they're not the same game. Golden Axe allows you to pick between being a dude, a chick, or a dwarf, and it's a fun game. I always play as the dwarf myself. Speaking of dwarves, those little fetching dwarves that hop around, what are those, man? What is good? There's some weird stuff in Golden Axe. But yeah, Golden Axe was a super fun beat-em-up game. But if we're talking about beat-em-up games on the Genesis, then we've got to talk about Streets of Rage. And in particular, I'm going to talk about Streets of Rage 2. Good lord. If you were getting into an argument with a friend of who has better soundtracks, the Sega Genesis or the Super Nintendo, Streets of Rage 2 is what I would use if I were trying to defend the Sega Genesis. I mean, that soundtrack just, And the sound effects when you're beating people up, the way that your punches sound when they land, it's just so good. And you've got all these different characters that you can play as, and each one, feels so different. And you've got all these fun locales to go to, and all these interesting enemies. It's just such a good game. What an incredible beat-em-up game. It's a little bit on the shorter side, but it's one of those games that is really fun to play through again and again to get better and better. And also you can play through it with different characters and it plays completely differently. Another just awesome game is Revenge of Shinobi. Now, anytime anybody brings this up, they're going to talk about that incredible opening cutscene where he's deflecting throwing stars. And that is really cool, especially for the time. But my gosh, what a cool game. It just feels so good being that ninja and throwing your little throwing knives, and then when you get close to the enemy, you can use your sword, and yeah, just really fun, satisfying gameplay. Love Revenge of Shinobi. Of course, if we're talking about like big boy games, I hate that I'm saying that.
I got big boy pants on! Oh.
But if we're talking about games notorious for being directed at an older audience, let's talk about the game that got Congress involved in rating games, and the game that was basically instrumental in the ESRB, the rating system that we know and love today.
What you're about to see are scenes from two of the most violent new video games. First, we have Mortal Kombat, which is a martial arts contest involving digitized characters. We're going to show two versions of the game. In the first segment, which is Sega's version, blood splatters from the contestants' heads. When a player wins, the so-called death sequence begins. The game narrator instructs the player to finish, and I quote, finish his opponent. The player may then choose a method of murder, ranging from ripping a heart out to pulling off the head of the opponent with spinal cord attached.
I'd like to take this moment to just show a clip of a fatality from Mortal Kombat 11. I'm gonna have to censor this just slightly, just because I don't want to get age restricted here. But let's go ahead and watch that.
Friendship. Scorpion wins. Flawless victory.
Yeah, so original Mortal Kombat looks pretty tame by today's standards. I'm not going to talk much about it because honestly, it was a huge game at the time. I've never liked fighting games, so I didn't really play it much. Same goes for Street Fighter. And then of course there's Castlevania Bloodlines. Now this is a game that ultimately I didn't I knew about and I had seen snippets of when I was a kid, but I didn't actually fully play it until I was an adult and I got the Sega Classic. Bloodlines is a fantastic Castlevania game, and unfortunately it got overshadowed by Rondo of Blood and Super Castlevania 4, which is a real shame. Of course, this was the 90s. You know, thanks to the success of Super Mario in the 80s, this was the era of platforming mascots. And I want to talk about one of the most famous platforming mascots on the Sega Genesis. You guys all know him. He's a tiny little mammal who's really fast and has a lot of tood. It's really cool. In fact, you might even say he's awesome. That's right, folks, I'm talking about Awesome Possum. In the game, Awesome Possum kicks Dr. Machino's butt.
Awesome Possum kicks Dr. Machino's butt.
I'm awesome.
Nobody who I know that is actually awesome has ever felt the need to say, I'm awesome.
Now I can really jump. Check this out. Bad guys.
Hey, shut up.
Yahoo! Wow, that was incredible. Check this out. Oh boy!
Holy shit, could you be more narcissistic?
I'm so hyper.
Oh, great! Now we're at the end of a level and I get to do a quiz. Yeah, this game's all about recycling and how we're destroying the environment, which, look, dude, 100% behind that message, but I don't know, man. Maybe put a fun game with it, too? It's kind of the whole point. That's how you get kids on board with recycling and shit. Yeah, this game sucks. I feel for any child when they went to Blockbuster and Sonic the Hedgehog 2, you know, they didn't have any copies left. This is what they ended up having to go with. Okay, so I'm sorry for that original fake out. Now we're going to talk about the platforming mascot on the Sega Genesis, who's a small little mammal with lots of tood and lots of personality, who can move really fast, and of course I'm talking about Rocket Knight Adventures. Okay, so this is a game by Konami, and this is a fantastic platformer. It does not get talked about nearly enough. I had a friend who had this game, and I loved playing this game. So much personality. You know, the different enemies making the different faces when you defeat them. I love the gameplay elements of using your jetpack in different ways to solve sort of platforming puzzles. There's a part where you have to use your tail, because Rocket Knight is an opossum, and he is actually an awesome opossum, and so you use his tail to jump between trees. There's one level that has a waterfall and you're going in front and behind the waterfall. Just such a magical, fun game. Just classic Konami at its best, you know? Highly recommend it. One of the things that the Sega Genesis did particularly well, and I think some of this comes back to, I don't know how much of this is true or how much of this is just Sega's marketing getting inside my head, but I feel like they did shooters so much better than the SNES. Like, they just feel better to me on the Sega Genesis. And if we're gonna talk about shooters, let's talk about my absolute favorite one, which is Musha. It's a vertical scrolling shooter, and it is so fun. You've got very satisfying weapon combinations. You've got levels that are obviously, you know, very tricky and pretty hard, but they never feel too unfair. Basically, with a shoot 'em up game, it has to be fun enough and satisfying enough that you are willing to continue to try even after dying many times. But this game it plays like butter from start to finish. Wonderful shoot 'em up game. Absolutely the #1 shoot 'em up that I would recommend for the console.
Test 1, 2.
Sega.
Okay, there's two games I want to talk about before we get into my favorite one, super quickly, that I played as an adult that I wish I would have been able to play as a kid. The first is Comix Zone. That game is super creative. I love this game. Love it so much. Just a lot of unique, interesting ideas in this game. Another one that I played as an adult, because we didn't get it, I think it was part of the Sega channel, whatever the hell that service was, but it was the Mega Man collection, where they basically remade the Mega Man games on the NES, some of them, for the Sega Genesis. It's on the Sega Classic console, and gosh, I love playing those games on the Genesis. They look and play so well. A lot of fun to go back and play. But my all-time favorite game on the Sega Genesis is easily Gunstar Heroes. It's a run-and-gun game that allows you a lot of choice. First of all, you can choose to either be able to run and shoot, or you can use the D-pad and stand still and shoot in any direction. You've got all kinds of different weapons that you can choose. The action is frenetic. I have no idea to this day how the programmers at Treasure were able to get as many moving pieces as they had in that game on the screen without just a monumental amount of slowdown. Like, it's clear that Treasure fully understood how to utilize the Sega Genesis, and it is such a fun game. Like, if someone came to me and said, okay, I'm getting a Sega Genesis, what's the first game you recommend that I play? Gunstar Heroes, 100%, because it sums up everything I love about the Sega Genesis. It's got an awesome synthy soundtrack, it's got super smooth, fast, action-packed gameplay, it's got really fun, vibrant colors, very fun, personality-driven sprites, a fairly interesting story with interesting bosses and enemies, and the charm in this game just oozes everywhere. It is a masterpiece, and it's no wonder that this game was created by ex-Konami people. I mean, you can feel so much of what made Contra so fun, but it's also a lot less intimidating. It's not, walk in the park easy, but it's also not Contra hard. So yeah, highly recommend this game. Okay, look, I'm sure that there are many games that you were hoping I was going to cover that I haven't yet. Games like Echo the Dolphin, or Vector Man, or Echo the Dolphin 2, The Tides of Time. There are a lot of games that I didn't play until my adulthood. I didn't get a chance to play them as a kid. That's why they're not being covered in this video. So that's why they're not showing up. Doesn't mean I don't love them, just means they weren't part of my journey, as gaming as a 90s kid. So don't hold it against me, okay? And as far as the peripherals go for the Sega Genesis, nobody I knew had a 32X or a Sega CD, so I had zero experience with them. Still don't really, if I'm being honest.
Hey! You still don't have a Sega CD?
No.
What are you waiting for? Nintendo to make one?
No.
You have seen the games, right?
No.
Wrong answer, man. Show 'em! Want to see more?
No.
Alright guys, I just want to thank you so much for watching this video. Leave me a like, let me know in the comments what's your favorite Sega Genesis game, and let me know if I forgot anything. Oh, shit. I forgot Sonic. Okay, we gotta talk about Sonic. Woohoo! Sorry. Holy cow, what is there to say about Sonic the Hedgehog? About the classic Sonic on the Sega Genesis? I mean, you got the incredible soundtracks. You've got those incredible sound effects. You've got that just smooth as butter gameplay. You know, when you get that speed going, there's nothing else like it. There really is nothing else like it. And as a kid, I remember playing Sonic at friends' houses and thinking, gosh, I really wish I had something like this on my Super Nintendo. But guess what? I didn't. I mean, Mario couldn't compete with that kind of speed, right? I mean, Mario is kind of more about like precision platforming, but still, nothing like Sonic the Hedgehog. Just so cool. It's easy to see why everybody loved this little guy. So now that I'm done sucking Sonic's chili dog, let's talk about why I forgot to bring him up in the first place. I didn't actually forget to bring him up. That was a rhetorical device. Here's the deal. I meant everything I just said about Sonic the Hedgehog, about classic Sonic. I think those first games on the Genesis and even the Sega CD are very much deserving of the reputation that they have. Although I do think that the first Sonic game is very uneven. I think there's some weird choices with level design. There are zones like the Marble Zone that are just complete pace killers, but I do feel like the Sonic team really kind of hit their stride with Sonic the Hedgehog 2 and onward. However, there's an issue that I have with the Sonic games that often gets brought up by many people with the classic Sonic games, and that is that every time I get my momentum up, there's something just off screen waiting to screw me up. Now here's the deal. Does that mean that there is something inherently wrong with Sonic the Hedgehog games? No, I don't think that that's a bug. I don't think that that's a design oversight. I think that the intention, keeping in mind that this was the 90s, and much of how you got longevity out of a game was by replaying it. So I think it was designed with the idea that you play these levels over and over again until you get them memorized to the point that you can get your momentum up and keep it going because you know the level well enough. I think that's how it's supposed to work. My issue is that for me personally, Sonic never connects with me in a way that gets me to want to keep playing until I get that good. It didn't back when I was a kid, and it doesn't now. So what ends up happening whenever I go back to play any of the classic Sonic games is I'll play them for a little while and I'll have fun, and then eventually I start getting a little frustrated that my momentum keeps getting broken, and I just don't want to spend the time or the effort to get good enough at the game. So I want to make this clear. I am not saying that this is a deficiency of the Sonic games at all. I'm saying that they do not connect with me personally as much as other games on the Sega Genesis. And that's why they're not like my all-time favorite games. But that does not change the sheer amount of influence that they had on gaming as a whole. Love this little blue blur. You guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Genuinely, appreciate you sticking around to the end. I hope you've enjoyed my retrospectives on my gaming journey. Next up is going to be the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. That's going to be a lot of fun. Stick around for that. I want to give a special thanks to Chase and Chloe Smith, my two patrons on Patreon. If you want to support this channel, that is a great way to do it. Otherwise, just leaving a like, leaving a comment, and subscribing, that helps me out a great deal as well. That's it. Bye.